Next, I want to discuss some so-called atypical antidepressants. And what they have in common is they're actually blocking a specific serotonin receptor. Therefore, some textbooks also put them under the category of serotonin receptor antagonists. And these are drugs like mirtazapine and trazodone. And what they have in common is their mechanism of action, in part because they are serotonin receptor antagonists. They block a very specific serotonin receptor, this 5-HT2A receptor, so antagonist. And that's the same for trazodone. So they have this because it turns out that this receptor is involved in depression. If you block it, that helps. This is a postsynaptic serotonergic receptor. There are plenty of different subtypes of serotonergic receptor, pre and postsynaptic. This is a postsynaptic receptor. But still, I want to mention that they have additional mechanisms of actions, because you may now wonder and say, well, you told us in the beginning they all increase the synaptic availability of neurotransmitter. And that's still true because they do other things as well. For example, mirtazapine is also an alpha-2 antagonist. And you may remember from cardio that this alpha-2 receptors, G protein coupled receptors, alpha-2 GI coupled, they sit presynaptically. So if you block it, for example, with a drug like mirtazapine, then you're going to get more, let's say, norepinephrine out here. So you're going to also increase the availability of monoamides in the synaptic cleft. And then trazodone, on the other hand, is a NET and SERT inhibitor, so an SNRI again. And we know already what that does. So they have additional, let's make here a line that you see the different drugs, additional effects. So here blocking NET and SERT for trazodone. They have some other important adverse effects that I want to mention. So mirtazapine is actually quite often used. It also has H1 antagonism, which is responsible for some adverse effects. We know H1 leads to weight gain and sedation. That's actually true for both of them, so we also need to put it here. That's very important. H1 antagonism in trazodone is so strong that it even is used also for insomnia. I also want to mention, in terms of sexual dysfunction, mirtazapine doesn't have too much of a negative effect because it doesn't directly increase serotonin. For trazodone, it's different. So it is a 5-HT2 antagonist, and then it's also SERT inhibitor, and it actually causes priapism as an adverse effect. Fairly often priapism, which is prolonged erection, so that's something you see very commonly in trazodone. You can remember that the 5-HT2A is the one that is responsible for, when you stimulate it, you get sexual dysfunction. When you block it, you get priapism. It's almost like the opposite, although this could be also considered as sexual dysfunction. Very dangerous situation, definitively need to go to the ER. So priapism is something that you may see in trazodone. So mirtazapine and trazodone, some atypical that have in common, so why they are kind of put together, they are both serotonergic antagonists, but then have other things that they also do somehow to increase the neurotransmitters. Mirtazapine is so good also in causing weight that you may see it used a lot in elderly patients. I mean, some elderly patients have problems with getting enough calories. They're on a so-called cookie and tea diet, so don't eat a lot, and have problems with sleeping. So this is a drug that can be considered because of the benefits in terms of weight gain, if that's needed for the patient, and sedation.